Former Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade is withdrawing from the Georgia election interference case against former President Donald Trump and 18 co-defendants. A Fulton County judge ruling either Wade steps down or Fulton County DA Fani Willis is disqualified from prosecuting Trump. The two accused of having an improper affair while using federal money on themselves on trips. Trump railing against Willis, Wade, and the Biden Department of Justice while rallying in Ohio on Saturday night. Watch.
All of the persecution is only happening because I'm running for president and leading in the polls. All these local cases like Fani. It's spelled Fanny, Fani, and Mr. and Mrs. Wade, which his wife did not appreciate. Can you imagine these two people trying to take down I'm a very popular president. These people are lowlifes, and they were sent here by the Department of Justice. This isn't a local Georgia thing. This was done. They would go into Washington, D.C. and have meetings that lasted for 8 hours on numerous occasions with the Justice Department and the White House.
Joining me right now is Harvard Law Professor Emeritus and the author of Get Trump, The Threat to Civil Liberties, Due Process, and Our Constitutional Rule of Law. Alan Dershowitz back with me. Alan, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. This Fani Willis debacle, finally with some conclusions. I want to get your take on that, but also broadly speaking on what's going on here for Trump, because it looks like all 4 of Trump's criminal trials are now likely to be delayed. You've got the New York hush money case scheduled to start next week, though now that's pushed to late April. January 6th case and the Florida documents case likely pushed to September. The Georgia trial in August at the earliest. What's your take on all of this, Alan?
Well, first of all, these cases are not being delayed. They're being pushed to go before the election. The timing is the function of the prosecutors. They want to get these cases rushed to judgment to get down and dirty convictions, which may very well be reversed on appeal. And they want these convictions to occur in designated jurisdictions like the District of Columbia, Fulton County in New York, which will convict a ham sandwich if its name is Trump. And the Trump lawyers are just doing the right thing. They're trying to get enough time to prepare their defense. On the Fani Willis case, this judge made up his mind. I predicted this completely, totally, right from the beginning. This judge made up his mind. He didn't want to get rid of Fani Willis. He wanted to get rid of Wade. And so then he concocted a crazy opinion, which achieved that result he wanted to achieve. For example, he says in his opinion, basically calling her a liar, mendacious, not trustful, her testimony is not trustful. And then when it comes to deciding whether she paid him back the money in cash without documentation, he says, I'm relying on her testimony. Well, you just can't do that. If a witness lies about so many things, her affair, when it began, etc., you can't suddenly say, but she suddenly decided to tell the truth about the most unlikely of all the things, namely that she paid back the money, no receipts, no documentation, no photographs, no notes in her notebook, nothing. But I'm going to believe her, even though I think she's a liar. It is a bizarre, bizarre opinion. The judge tried to cut the baby in half. He tried to be King Solomon, and the baby died.
Unbelievable. Florida Judge Eileen Cannon not dismissing President Trump's classified documents case either. She cited unconstitutional vagueness as the reason why. Cannon has not ruled on Trump's other motion to dismiss based on the Presidential Records Act. Some are calling this a bad outcome for Special Counsel Jack Smith. Alan, your thoughts?
Well, the decision down in Florida is a complicated one. There is no constitutional basis for dismissing a case just because the same facts didn't lead to a prosecution of President Biden. They are the same facts. Basically, they both showed a document, one to his ghostwriter, the other to a journalist, basically saying they're classified. That's the crime, and they're identical crimes. Putting aside obstruction or anything else, they're identical crimes. But the courts have held that that's not a good enough reason for dismissing. But I think in the end, this judge will place constraints on the prosecution to a point where he may actually get a fair trial on that case. That's the only jurisdiction where there's any possibility of a fair trial. In the other 3 jurisdictions, forget about it, as they say in New York. A New York jury, they voted 85% against Trump. D.C. jury 90-something% against Trump.
Wow.
He's not getting a trial in either of those two places. And the prosecution picked the places very carefully in a calculated way in order to assure down and dirty convictions before the election. Yes, that does constitute a kind of election interference. But we have to remember it's the prosecution who's rushing these cases to trial.
Sure.
And if I'm a defense, I would do exactly what the Trump lawyers are doing. Give us time to prepare. Now the Justice Department has just given a load of material to the New York case. I don't know why. And the New York judges inevitably had to put off the case because you can't just go through thousands of pages of material in 2 or 3 days. Look, these are political prosecutions. Donald Trump, who I'm not going to vote for, is absolutely right when he says if he were not running for president, none of these prosecutions would have occurred. These are attempts to influence the voters as to how to vote. And in fact, Jack Smith has said so.
What a sad state of affairs if this is where we are, and it is so biased. Meanwhile, we've got, evidence of a corruption in plain sight when you look at all of this influence peddling that has gone on. This week, there's going to be an open hearing. Hunter Biden is not expected to appear before this House committee for public testimony this week. His lawyer, Abby Lowell, dismissed it as a, quote, carnival sideshow. Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer joined me on Sunday Morning Futures yesterday saying he is about ready to start sending out multiple criminal referrals. Listen to this, Alan.
There were massive discrepancies between what 3 of Hunter Biden's business associates said pertaining to Hunter's involvement and pertaining to President Biden's involvement versus what Hunter testified. I fully expect Hunter Biden to show up. If he does not show up, then it's not going to end well for the Bidens, because we have 3 witnesses that are testifying, that have already testified under oath.
How many criminal referrals are you expecting to make?
There are going to be multiple criminal referrals. The evidence is overwhelming. Just because the media and the White House want to indoctrinate America and say there's no evidence, that doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of evidence of criminal wrongdoing by the Biden family.
Wow. Alan, he said that there will be multiple criminal referrals having to do with the Foreign Registration Act, that's influence peddling, potential money laundering, and bribery. Your thoughts?
Well, we have to have the same rules for everybody. Navarro is about to go off to jail. He can't even get bail pending appeal for doing exactly what people on the other side have done, namely failing to comply with a subpoena because they challenge the subpoena. There may be referrals, but it's to the Justice Department. That is obviously a Democratic Justice Department. And will the public really trust whether the Justice Department will take seriously these criminal referrals? The key point is the same law has to apply to Democrats and Republicans, to Trump people and to Biden people. And the American public and people like me who are Democrats do not believe we're seeing the equal application of the law. That's why I wrote the book, Get Trump. This is an attempt simply to get one person. That's not the American way.
Yep. All right, Alan, we'll leave it there. Great to talk with you as always. Thank you, sir. Alan Dershowitz joining us on a whole set of issues. Thank you, sir.